No, sorry, Bubbles. We're not talking about you. We're not talking about video game bubbles like Whack-a-Bubble, where it's like weird kind of bubbles that don't even look like real bubbles. Like you see those Whack-a-Bubble bubbles, those aren't real bubbles. I don't even know why it's called Whack-a-Bubble. It should be called like Whack-a-Ball or Whack-a-Sphere, Whack-a-Orb. These are bubbles like from water or from different type of soapy bubbles. Just like whenever, have you seen the Vaporeon original Pokemon card? It's got bubbles on them. This is from bubbles from Pokemon, like bubble moves like Bubble Beam and Bubble that Vaporeon can and does use. Wartortle can also use these Bubble Beam bubble moves, and that Lillipup can also get hit by bubbles. And other type of Pokemon, Starmie. Starmie used Bubble Beam and still continues to does use Bubble Beam. This is from Bubble Bobble, and it's a video game where there's bubbles and bobbles in this wacky world where you play as two little lizard guys and you're bobbling around. Just let's see what happens. Get the bubbles. You run around, you pop the bubbles. You see just like that, and then you get the bonus pickles and bonus peppers and tomatoes and things like that. See? And then you float in the bubble. There's a bubble. This is Bubble Bobble, and then you do the same thing. You hit the enemies, turn them into bubbles. I was I was watching that, but okay, this is and then there's like Puzzle Bubble Bobble, Bubble Bobble, Bubble Puzzle, Bubble Puzzle, Puzzle, Bobble, Bubble, Bubble. There's a lot of different puzzle games where you use like bubbles to do different things, like Magic Bubble by Young Sun Electronic. This is Magic Bubble from 1993 CNE Incorporated. And look at that yellow bunny. That's a cool yellow bunny from that game. This next one is, you guys all remember Paper Mario, the original one, as being the best game. If you give that bubble plant the bubble berry, he gives you bubbles. And look at those bubbles. They're very cool and nice bubbles. There are much worse bubbles in Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. You can see the art style is completely different. But also in the original, there's that big snot bubble. This is not about sleepy snot bubbles. Next one actually is, though, another Mario bubble. You probably have remembered playing in new Mario games. You remember you can go inside the bubbles when you're like flying around, but then there's Bubble Mario, who's even cooler than just normal. This is Dr. Seuss, Cat in the Hat, for the video game where you play as the Cat in the Hat in the magical worlds, and you use your magical umbrella to trap things in bubbles to create different bubble items, and it's good. Or the picture's from Mario, but they're both good. They're both good bubbles. This next one actually is also from Mario. This time it's from Mario 64. Is There's bubbles underwater. Because when you're in the water, there's all a bunch of different bubbles. There's bubbles coming up from that jet. There's bubbles that you've been breathing out, and also air bubbles that you need to get to survive. And there is other bubbles in other games, like Super Mario Sunshine also does have bubbles, but the Mario 64 bubbles are better. Just like Sonic 2, the Hedgehog, just like Sonic is a hedgehog, there's a bunch of bubbles in his games too. Starting off from the very first one even, there's bubbles under the water that you do have to get. And even the zeros look like bubbles. And even the rings kind of look like bubbles, like gold bubbles. There's all the different bubbles from throughout Sonic from games. These are bubbles from underwater in. You guys all remember Gloop. Gloop is from the Banjo-Kazooie game, and he's the one who you get bubbles from. He's also a like Mario mechanic. You get the bubbles, it gives you oxygen. Gloop's bubbles gives you much needed oxygen inside the Clanker's Cavern level, especially when you're trying to go through in and out the keyhole, the turnkey.